This is WJOU 90.1 FM Huntsville, serving the Tennessee Valley, a broadcast service of Oakwood University, on the web at wjou.org.
Good afternoon and welcome to Second Chance. Second Chance is a weekly talk show that examines a wide range of social issues and seeks to inspire physical, emotional, social, and spiritual healing, believing that God is a God of second chances, and through faith, all things are possible. Second Chance airs live each week from the beautiful campus of Oakwood University and features real people with real issues and offers real answers. And now, here's your host, Kenneth Anderson.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Second Chance radio broadcast. I'm Kenny Anderson. As always, on Sunday afternoons, I am delighted to be here with you for the Second Chance radio broadcast. We air on Sundays from the campus of Oakwood University and the studio of Praise 90.1 FM from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I know this afternoon we have people listening at 90.1 FM. There are people who are listening at WJOU.org, which means that you're listening from anywhere around the world right now. And of course, we're thrilled that there are people who are connecting to the live stream on Praise 90.1 FM on YouTube as well as Facebook. We'll give you a chance to hop on over there because if you do that, you can actually see our guests. You can actually get the visual of the conversation and all the other things that go along with that. But you can also drop your comments and questions into the chat section. And of course, we love to know that there are people out there listening to the broadcast. I'm going to jump right in and start out with my first guest because she is ready and waiting. And I've been looking forward to having this conversation with her. And she's here and ready to roll at this time. Michelda Johnson joined HAPPI Health as its CEO in September of 2024. She brings over 25 years of diverse leadership experience to her role as CEO of HAPPI Health, with a unique blend of expertise in healthcare management, human resources, and operational strategy. It is my privilege to welcome her back to this broadcast because we always know that she brings not just energy, but sunshine. Great to see you, Michelda, on this afternoon.
Great to see you as well, Kenny, and thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it.
And it's always good to have you because you bring not just great information, context, and perspective on a variety of things, but I always like to think of you as always coming and bearing gifts because you have such good information that's very practical that people can walk away from and experience an improvement in their quality of life. And we look forward to a similar situation today. But, we got to start at the very beginning because there have been some social media posts floating around over the last few days that have highlighted a pretty big event that takes place in Huntsville every year for a great cause. And as I started noticing these social media posts, I'm always looking to see who was a part of it because I've participated in the past. And I always look forward to the energy and engagement that's a part of it. And who might I see walking the red carpet, walking the catwalk, walking among the people, none other than Michelda Johnson. Tell us about that experience.
Oh, my goodness. It was a fantastic experience. Major kudos to the Central North Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated for such a wonderful Rouge event highlighting and bringing awareness to heart health and Heart Health Month. What an opportunity to educate our community. What an opportunity to raise funds for such a major initiative, especially within the African American community. So I was honored to be an ambassador HAPPI was honored to be a sponsor of the event. And boy, did we have a ball. Oh, Kenny, you've done this before. You know, in fact, I was scrolling this morning through some pictures, and I saw you at the end of the stage posing, and I said, "That's my guy." It was electrifying. It was magnetic. It was just such and the coordination of the event, everything just fell into place. I mean, it was just such a beautiful event. And here's the other pieces of it, right? Yes, it's an annual event for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, but you see everyone from the community, from other fraternities, other sororities, from other organizations. It is truly a community-driven event that again sheds that light. And for me, as I thought about it, my grandfather passed away on Resurrection Day, and from his sixth heart attack. Sixth. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember him, and he wasn't I'm gonna be honest, he wasn't a church going man. But I remember him going, and literally he went, we, discovered later, he went to every one of his kids' houses that lived locally. And he went and visited friends that he had retired with. And he was actually at a friend's house on Whitesburg when he went into the bathroom and passed away. Wow. And so I think about, all the things related to heart health, the silent killer in the African-American community, a part of the comorbidities that really, from cholesterol to diabetes, really, we feel like can be prevented with proper diet, with exercise, with care. So to see the light shine on this initiative, and then to see all of us walking that catwalk, I was so nervous. I just knew I was going to trip and fall. It was such a great event.
Yeah, you kind of feel that way, I know. And then you realize that God has brought you through. I saw Doc Rock walking the catwalk as well. I was like, go ahead, Doc, do your thing.
Doc did his thing. I was like, look at him. Had his red jacket on. I mean, and the ladies, when I tell you, they brought the style, the fashion, the hats, the fascinators, that we had some Harlem Renaissance looks, some 1920s. It was, it was just it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
What a great thing for a great cause. And of course, HAPPI is at the center of all of these challenges that people face from a health perspective, trying to make sure that they're taking care of their lives. But I want to go back for a moment about what you said about your grandfather, because so much of, I think, our ability to understand and see things in life is through the narratives of our lives, those stories, those experiences that we have. And so oftentimes the proximity of someone's experience really leads them down a path of purpose and focus and intentionality in terms of what they choose to do. And I have to imagine that a part of your why for being in the healthcare space and also for leading this organization now is really driven by that experience with your grandfather.
It really is. It's really driven by the experience with my grandfather, the experience with my own father, the experience with family members. But the other pieces of it is I'm very passionate. I started off being very passionate about mission trips. And so I lived in Atlanta and I volunteered. I really should say voluntold. That I was going on a domestic mission trip with my church at the time, Ray of Hope, Reverend Dr. Cynthia Hale in Atlanta. And we went to the poorest community in the state of Georgia. And it's halfway between Atlanta and Augusta. And they had no primary care providers in that city. They had a provider in Augusta who would come through the city once every other week, see as many patients as he could, and then he was gone. And so if anybody needed emergent care, they either had to drive to Augusta or Atlanta, both about an hour and a half away. And so my church, we pulled up with 18-wheelers full of supplies from everything from primary care to podiatry to dental, everything that was needed for the community. It shifted me. And in a way that I did not expect, right? And so it shifted me to realize that in these United States of Americas, we have humans and individuals without access to adequate care.
Yeah.
And they can't either afford it, or they cannot access it, or it's not available to them. And so what we saw, we brought the clinic on a Friday. We stayed Friday all day Saturday. And when I tell you the line was down the street, wrapped around for people just needing care. Individuals who needed medical management, high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes management. Many of them could not afford the prescriptions. Many of them weren't sure if they were on the right medication. They were just told, take this. And so a lack of education and a lack of even feeling ownership about their own temple, their own body, what they were putting in their body. And so to see that kind of shifted something in me in realizing that there has to be a focus on health equity and health access. We have to ensure that all individuals have access to quality care. Because here's the thing, Kenny, if a portion of our community is weak and lacking, then all of our community is weak. We can't, so we know Huntsville is one of the fastest growing, and it's this and it's that. But do you realize that even with the federally qualified health centers that are in the city, we still are only at about 16% meeting the needs of the underserved in this community as it relates to healthcare and equity of access.
Wow. That's such a huge gap. And the wonderful thing about the conversation that we can have today, among the past ones that we've had and the ones we'll have in the future, is that people can learn about HAPPI as a resource that can help them benefit in a very powerful and positive way. Talk to people about what HAPPI represents to the community.
Thank you for that. HAPPI, which is an acronym, HAPPI Health is a federally qualified health center. And as a federally qualified health center, we see all patients. We see all patients regardless of insurance status. And so if you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, great. We've got a great number of patients that have Blue Cross Blue Shield, TRICARE, Humana, United Healthcare, all of that's perfect. But what about that individual? And we know that in January, the Affordable Care Act was repealed, right? That means had a patient, small business owner was paying about $800 a month for health insurance. That cost went up to almost $3,000 a month, a little bit less than $3,000 a month now. And so this small business owner is making a decision, right? Do I continue investing in my small business or doing what I need to grow my small business, or do I pay health insurance? I think I'll take my chances without health insurance, right? So we know, and the statistics show that a lot of individuals have made the decision after January 1, 2026 to go without health coverage. Wow. But here's the thing, right? We're going to see all patients regardless of health insurance status. and it's going to be quality care. We have the most amazing providers in the Tennessee Valley. Our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. George Kyle, retired colonel from the Arnold, served his country faithfully, and now retired and at HAPPI and loving it, just brings so much joy to the medical profession, and all of our providers equally passionate about the community that we serve, about just serving others in the form of healthcare, really managing those needs. We don't, try and get you in and out in 5 minutes. We're going to take the time to understand, how do we help you effectively manage your care? And it makes such a difference. I'll give you a quick story. At the Rouge event, I happened to meet, it's my first time meeting her, the president of the 100 Black Women of Huntsville, the Greater Huntsville chapter, Robin Drake. Mm-hmm. And she heard me introduce myself and she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm a patient of Dr. Kyle's." Am I supposed to say this? I may not be supposed to say this, but anyway, she talked about how much she appreciated the care she received at a HAPPI clinic. We were one of only a few primary care providers accepting new patients in the city, in the area. And she happened upon Dr. Kyle and could not say enough about the care that she received from him, but not just from him. It starts when you walk through that front door, from our customer support to our medical assistants, all the way back to the providers.
And I love what you're saying, because people who engage HAPPI do not have to be concerned about a substandard quality of care. They're going to get the highest attention in terms of what their needs are. I love the fact that you said the clinical staff or the clerical staff, whoever it might be, takes their time to really get to work with that person, because it's really a customer relationship that is going on in terms of helping that person experience the highest quality of care. And that's exactly what HAPPI guarantees. Not only that, though, I know at the center of Michelda Johnson's heart is a word called collaboration, that it is more important to focus on the greater goods of others by figuring out how we can cast the widest net in collaboration with other organizations in order to maximize our impact. Most recently, you have become a partner with UAH's Neighborhood Nursing Initiative, which is a game changer in our community. And also, you have a great partnership with the Huntsville Housing Authority, and there's some overlap there. But talk to us about why those two collaborations are so powerful.
Man, they are amazing. And when I heard about neighborhood nursing, first as a graduate of UAH, I got my Bachelor's of Science degree in nursing, class of 2012, from UAH. And so then as we talked about the neighborhood nursing program and what it would do, and to hear their enthusiasm of bringing nursing directly to the community really resonated. And so HAPPI is so proud to collaborate with UAH as the nursing students are doing their screenings of the residents in the 3 communities that we're currently serving, Brookside and Northwood Housing Community, which are both a part of the Huntsville Housing Authority, as well as the city of Triana. As they are doing their screenings, we are the providers now that take a look at those patients. We have on site at every time that the clinics are open at those locations, we've got a provider and a medical assistant on site to assess patients in that moment, to look at their medication management, to look at and make recommendations, and to schedule for follow-up appointments so they don't fall through the cracks. And so this collaboration has been very beneficial. We are also doing and supporting them with colorectal cancer screenings, which is very, very, very important. And we are supporting through making sure that there is access. One of the things we find is that many individuals exacerbate conditions because of not consistently taking their medication. And so one of the things that we did, and I've talked about it before, but we opened our pharmacy, HAPPI RX, which allows us now to be able to provide affordable pharmacy and drugs and medication to our patients so they don't have to miss the crucial prescriptions that they need to manage their healthcare concerns.
Yeah. You know, it really amazes me in one sense, but also becomes very gratifying that a leader of an organization is thinking in a way that is bigger than him or herself. And that the idea that the greater good of the community is served by figuring out who can best provide the services. And if it has to be done in partnership, who can get the most benefit from that? So I think about marginalized communities like many who live in public housing and the idea that you can now have services in direct partnership with the Huntsville Housing Authority, which I think is also a pioneering thing that you celebrate as well, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very pioneering because you realize one of the barriers to quality care, barriers to care, is transportation. I can't get there. Now, we do telehealth visits for those individuals who just absolutely cannot get into an office. But imagine now that it's not a bus ride or because I'll send an Uber for somebody, an Uber ride, but it's a walk across the street. In your community, you can get the quality care that you need. You can get your prescription refilled. You can get your flu shot or vaccine or whatever it is that you need. And the beauty of this is where we will be located as we are opening our clinic in Calvary Hill. It's next to the Boys and Girls Club, next to Village of Promise, right? Adjacent to Drake State and some amazing things that they are doing there, right beside the Huntsville Madison County Public Library. So now it's community, right? It's community and community building. It's accessibility for all of the marginalized communities so that they can have the services they need in one central area. It just blows my mind when I think about it. I'm excited about this.
No, the one-stop shop concept is so critical to the success of people who are trying to navigate life, who, as you said, have barriers sometimes in terms of transportation, work schedules, and more. And that the logistics of their life and the circumstance and the economics of their life sometimes create all kinds of challenges and barriers. If you have a one-stop shop where that family can experience self-sustaining initiatives, it becomes that much more powerful for them in the context of how they're trying to live their lives and navigate through things. So that is just so, I think, beautiful in one sense. It's one of the beautiful things that happens in our community, and I love seeing that. I also know that you have a penchant for making sure that people know what's happening with HAPPI, and that social media is one of the ways that you embrace. You know, a lot of places shy away from social media. They're running a business, they have a nonprofit, they have a message to share, but they say things like, I'm not on social media, or I don't use LinkedIn. And I know that you lean into that. So talk to us a little bit about that investment that you have in getting the message out about health equity and care.
Kudos to our marketing team and to the folks that make sure that our message is out there. When I started in September, the interesting things that I learned was that people didn't know we existed. And if they knew that we existed, they thought we were only for babies, for pediatric patients. They didn't realize we served both all ages from 0 to 999, right? And so it's been really fun getting the message out that we serve all ages, that we have a behavioral health arm, that we have counseling, that we treat students with ADHD and anxiety and depression, and they can come in, that we have licensed independent clinical social workers to treat patients that are experiencing severe depression and really need counseling, right? We have those services. We partner, here we go, collaboration again. We partner with the school system. We partner with private schools to assist them, because sometimes, our kids get sent out of the classroom and into detention when they really just have so many different things going on at home, and they just need coping skills on how to manage the myriad of things that are happening. We provide that service. And so, but it means that, you can't access the service, because we're always accepting new patients. So you can't access the service if you don't know that we are there. So we have embraced social media. We might be moving to TikTok, you never know. But we have embraced it all just to bring awareness that there is a resource in the city passionate about care and about the individual. And we embrace it from all demographics. The largest part of our community is Latino. And we embrace our Hispanic community. And we have bilingual staff at every one of our 6 now. It was 4 when I started. Every single one of our 6 clinics we have access to bilingual staff who can help them navigate and understand what is going on with their health and with their bodies. What is surprising to me, I'll throw this in as a footnote, is sometimes we have to make referrals to other specialties. It's surprising to me that not everyone has that bilingual access for patients. And so they go and they'll visit, but they have no idea what's wrong, what the treatment is, what's being said, nothing. And so that's very important, that we are accessible to every single individual that needs the care. And plus our urgent care. So many services. But yes, social media, we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, HAPPI Health, HAPPI Health. And then our website, www.happyhealth.org.
Say that one more time.
www.happyhealth.org.
She is Michelda Johnson. She's the CEO of HAPPI Health. She is a transformative leader that if you have not gotten a chance to meet, you got to meet her. You got to learn about her services. I hope that people are taking copious notes this afternoon, that there are people listening this afternoon who need the services that HAPPI provides. And you don't have to be sitting out in a canoe without any oars. You can actually direct yourself to the places that will provide the medical support and management that you need. We all need it in some form or fashion, and we all will need it at some stage of our life. And sometimes that access gets a little more challenging. HAPPI is here to alleviate some of those challenges and to remove some of those barriers. Michelda, thank you as always for the great energy that you bring to this space. We got lots more to talk about, and I know that you talked about bringing your chief medical officer on. I look forward to that. I look forward to hearing about just the next iteration of what HAPPI does in our community as you continue to grow and expand and blow up and impact people in our community. Thank you so much for joining me on this day.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it always. Eternally grateful for you.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. That's Michelda Johnson. She's the CEO of HAPPI Health right here in Huntsville. You got to get to know HAPPI. You got to get to know Michelda. We'll be back in just a moment with more of the broadcast and my next guest, who is up and ready to roll in just a few moments.
You're listening to Second Chance with Kenny Anderson.
You know, the beauty of radio is that there are always things that are happening behind the scenes that you'll never know about and that we won't admit to. but we're happy to be here this afternoon. And I'm very happy to have my next guest at this time. He is Dr. Nosakhere Thomas. He is on the feed at this time. You're in the feed, my brother. Can you see me, hear me? You good?
I got you now.
All right. I saw
I had a lot of windows open. Yeah, I had a lot of windows open. I couldn't find you.
I saw you the whole time, but it's good that you see me now as well. Let people know who I'm talking about. Dr. Nos is a dynamic leader, pastor, and manifestation strategist who bridges biblical wisdom with practical spiritual transformation. As executive director of the Inland Empire Black Worker Center, he champions Black worker justice while authoring life-changing works on faith-aligned abundance. Dr. Thomas empowers believers to reclaim divine tools like holy noticing, aligned thoughts, the power of words, and the 369 manifestation method to realize God's purpose, favor, and abundance. And he is the author of a brand new publication that we're going to spend a little time talking about today. It's Manifestation Mastery, a biblical approach to abundance, purpose, and divine favor. Dr. Nosakhere Thomas, thank you for joining me this afternoon on this platform and giving me a chance to just go a little bit higher because you're here.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Kenny. Always appreciate you. Love what you do week after week. And you're always a blessing to me and to our community. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on the book, Manifestation Mastery. This is some good stuff, and I know it's going to be a great read. We're going to spend a little time today unpacking this so that people can learn a little bit more about it. But first of all, the obvious question is, why did you write this book?
Yes, this book is the culmination, really a culmination of my life work experiences. But as you know, I've been a pastor for 37 years. I've been a higher education professor and administrator. I have and still am a coach and a consultant. And you also mentioned the work that I do as the executive director as the Inland Empire Black Worker Center. So what I've discovered over these years and over this time is that church folks, family members, students, clients, community folks, in some ways are stuck in a cycle of non-productivity, right? And there is this negativity, the imposter syndrome, negative thoughts, feelings, words, behaviors that we sometimes have that block our potential and the blessings that God has for us. And so what I decided that I would do is try to build a bridge between where people are and where people need to go. And I also discovered that many of the pathways, vehicles, language, and tools to get us from point A to point B as Christians are sometimes looked upon with disdain, or we just kind of look cross-eyed at them because they don't fit into our normal pattern of language and nomenclature as Christians. And so what I've tried to do in this book is bridge that gap, use the language of cognitive theory, psychology, law of attraction, mindfulness, and show how these are actually theological and biblical scriptural principles that are at work every day in nature, in science, and are applicable to us. And to the extent that we use them, we will be better off and more productive for it.
So for me, that's the mastery part, getting to a point where we can take these tools and use them in such a way that we can enhance our ability to navigate through life. It's the manifestation word that draws me as well, though, because before we get to the mastery, we have to experience some kind of manifestation. Right. Talk to me about what that means to you in the context of this book.
Yeah. So manifestation is the desire of our heart. It is what, David talks about, God granting us the desires of our heart. So we have a thing that we want. We have a thing that we desire. So that's the end game, the end goal. That's the manifestation. That's the thing that we're looking for. That's the objective. That's the manifestation. And so as we think about that, we have to understand, so what is the relationship between what I want and where I am? What I want and who I am. What I want and how I think. What I want, how I feel. What I want, how I speak. What I want and how I behave. But it was ultimately the realization of things that was hoped for. So it's the realization of the faith. It's realization of the faith. It's the productivity of our ideas and our imagination. It's the desires of our hearts, right? And so when we talk about manifestation, we're talking about a revelation, something perhaps that was invisible that becomes seen, right? And so that's what we mean when we talk about manifestation. Much like let's say the athlete who's training for the Olympics, for instance. This athlete must believe, must think through, must rehearse in their mind and their bodies this whole scenario before it actually is manifested in reality, right? And that happens at every level of our experience. You can be an event planner. Even before you go to the site, you have to see it many times over before it becomes material. And this is Black History Month, right? For instance, and you think about Garrett Morgan created the traffic light. You think about William Hell creating blood plasma. You think about Benjamin Banneker creating the clock, the almanac. You think about the shoe lasting machine and so many of these other things. And last week we talked about Jesse Eugene Russell, who created or is called the father of modern digital telephone technology. They actually had to see it inside, right? The straightening comb, the golf tee, they had to see it in their minds before it could manifest outside. Inner before outer, right? And how do we know that this is powerful? Because God says in Genesis chapter 11, when they were trying to build the Tower of Babel, God says to them, nothing that they have imagined will be restrained from their manifestation. That's what he said. That's what he said.
How do you, I thought this was a great question. How do you address common misconceptions about this theme that people may experience with the context of faith? Yeah. And when you talk to people about that whole word manifestation, most people, I think, use it in the context of something that's been revealed and provided perhaps a blueprint for their lives. And whereas that might be true, there certainly may be some other applications there that they're missing or maybe misinterpreting.
Yeah. And I just tell them, listen, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. They're the actual, and I actually look at the Greek and Hebrew words as we kind of go through the process and look at the theology of it all and kind of matching up and showing where it fits and where it doesn't fit. But what we're saying is what we are after is God's will. What we're after is God's purpose, nothing more and nothing less. And so there have been secular forms of manifestation, conversations, and so forth. But as Christians, we're not doing anything apart from God's will and apart from God's purpose. We're trying to fully function in God's will and purpose. And so, you know, when you think about texts like, as a man, as a person thinketh in their heart, so are they, right? That's manifestation. They thought it, they've conceived it in their hearts, and then what they are carrying out and what they're manifesting is an outgrowth of what happened inside. And so it's nothing, you know, it's nothing very unusual, but what happens often is that, you know, secular entities, organizations take things that are in the Bible and popularize it, and then Christians sometimes feel like it's off limits and not appropriate. Think about sex, for instance. Think about how Hollywood and pornography has treated sex, so much so that Christians don't even want to talk about sex anymore. Really? That was one of the greatest gifts that God has ever given to us. So this is why in the book I talk about reclaiming language. That is so powerful, and so powerfully reclaiming it and then using it in a way that it empowers us as we go forward and we do what God's purpose is for our lives.
Many authors utilize the voice that they have applied to the publication to reach a targeted audience. And in fact, they might say, I want to, as many people as possible to get access to this. But there really is a specific group of people that I'm targeting, and I hope that they will absolutely get a hold of this information. Is there such a group in your mind when you think about this publication?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when I think about my target market, and that's something that, it's part of marketing 101, really, right?
Right.
Your target market, and understanding that is critical, and that can make the difference between selling books and not. Selling more and selling less. And so I would say that my target market are Christians largely between the ages of 30 and 75 who have, experienced some things in their lives on this long continuum of having goals and objectives reached and then reconsidered and then relaunching, right? So in other words, we get to a place where sometimes we have to reinvent ourselves. If you think about businesses and branding, the average business should rebrand every 5 to 7 years, And if you think about that, in recent times, in the last 20 years, we've probably seen it happen, certainly within the decade. And so for those who are looking to rebrand, those who are looking to find their way, a path forward, looking just for a new revelation, a new way to understand themselves, to shake off the lack of confidence, lack of self-efficacy, and find a pathway forward. Some people do this every January and want to find new ways of forging the path ahead and developing new trajectories for their lives and their experiences and their families. And so it's for those kinds of people. I know that wasn't as specific as some target markets, but it's pretty wide. It's those who are interested in movement, alignment, and movement.
Yeah. And that probably covers, as you said, quite a few people that are mindful of the position they're in life. And certainly this time of year, that's something a lot of people are thinking about because it's the new year and they're kind of reflecting on what happened in the previous year and where they want to go in the new year. Correct. And this kind of information could absolutely be helpful in them determining what that path might be, which leads me to my next question, which is what kind of practical steps would you offer as a teaser, because we want people to absolutely read the book, but just as a teaser to people that are listening this afternoon to make them say, this sounds like something I really want to lean into a little bit more.
Yeah. So Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, relatively around there, it talks about guarding the heart and observing the thoughts and the words and the patterns, because all of life flows out of that, right? Yeah. Yeah. And so in terms of a practical step, I would encourage people to guard their thoughts, their feelings, the words, and the behavior, and be thoughtful about that. There are some things, even in our prayers, that we actually say that are negative constructions. They're negative words. So they come out of our minds, which is it's negative to begin with. Then it's a negative word construction that has a negative impact often, right? And so we can absolutely, there's what's called neuroplasticity, and that's the ability we have to change our brain, right? Change the neurons or our brain cells so that they fire differently and the synapses connect differently and we get new patterns of doing things. And so I would certainly encourage folks to do that from a practical standpoint. We also, in the book, we talk about our 369 method. And I would just broadly say that that has to do with journaling for our manifestation. And, the Bible says, write it down, make it plain, right? People perish for lack of vision. And it's because we're not clearly seeing things, right? And so, and just applying that on a daily basis. And the challenge is not only the alignment, but the discipline to stick with it. Much like, we make the resolutions about going to the gym and then, by March, we're done. Let it rain, let it be cold, right? We're done, right? And so get a little cold, it just takes us out, wipes us out. So part of that is consistency. I also talk about I know you didn't ask this question, but I want to get this back in. I really talk about money too, because how we feel and think about money is critical as Christians. And sometimes we try to downplay the abundance that God actually wants for us. So, right. So we, in some ways, equate piety and Christianity with poverty in some ways and piety. And the reality is that at the church, if something gets broke, we need the wealthiest person at the church to make a donation so we can get the furnace fixed. But in the meantime, we despise the wealth of the wealthiest, right? So what I do in the book is I take all of these prophets and all of these figures and characters in the Bible. I assign today's wealth estimates to their lives and livelihoods. So you can go down and see that, David's income and Paul's income. In fact, Paul was on the lower end of the spectrum. Bathsheba, we just go right down the list, the Proverbs 31 woman, so forth and so on, because the idea is that it's hard for the rich person to get through the eye of the needle, and therefore it's difficult for them to be saved or in communion with God. But on the contrary, the Bible teaches just the opposite, because all of these characters in the Bible who were close to God that we learn from, we talk about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, these folks were wealthy and close to God. So trying to figure out, how do we get there? Not that everybody has to be wealthy, but that we have to have a healthy relationship to wealth and abundance, because we can do great things if we do have it.
Yeah. I want to ask you something, and to me, this also ties into the book in a different kind of way. But during the pandemic, many people pivoted from traditional methods of delivery in terms of the spiritual realm. The church attendance and face-to-face experiences were neutralized for a significant period of time. And a lot of people pivoted from traditional experiences to non-traditional experiences that now have become rather traditional. And that is virtual platforms. You were one of the first people that I knew who did that.
Yeah.
So I consider you a pioneer in that area, in terms of recognizing the opportunity and then leveraging it with a degree of consistency and also an element of non-traditional exposure to topics and conversations. They were very pragmatic. They were very timely. They were diverse voices. I mean, it was that kind of thing that was going on. What lessons do you take from the pandemic and that experience of making that pivot to this whole concept of manifestation mastery?
Yeah, great question, Kenny. I think so. One of the terms that I talk about in manifestation mastery is holy noticing. And I define it, I first got it from Charles Stone, who wrote a book in 2019 and just ahead of the pandemic. And he talked about this kind of awareness of self, God, and others. And I kind of expanded it and built on the platform. And my technical definition is the building or the ability to tap into the unapparent, the unapparent aspects of God, an awareness of the unapparent aspects of God, ourselves, others, and the universe, right? In ways that we've not seen it before. And Jesus actually talks about this in Matthew chapter 13. Jesus says that you have the ability to see what others haven't seen and hear what others haven't heard, even the religious leaders. So we want to tap into that. So then it's the ability to hear what God is saying, what the Spirit is saying. And so that's how I arrived at that. So in the pandemic, the Spirit says, you got to do something fresh, you got to do something relevant, and you got to speak to where people are right now. So I knew that people were having strained relationships because they have not spent that much time, husband and wife, in the same space. I knew that parents and children needed to understand this new way of doing education. So I had an educator come in. Finances were an issue, so I had folks come in and talk about finances. I had a sex therapist come in and talk about sex, right? Because you just have to be relevant, right? And I've built my whole ministry, my whole career on trying to be relevant, speaking to where people are and scratching where people are itching. Yeah. And then one of the other revelations I got is that this was a global reset. You and I talked about this. This is a global reset, right? And we have to pivot or perish. Yeah. We have to pivot or perish. Yeah. And then COVID itself, I brought Dr. Milton Brown on and we specifically talked. I can't tell you how many times I've run into people across the country, inside of the Adventist community, outside the Adventist community, who have told me, it was your show that helped me navigate COVID. You and Dr. Brown got on and you talked about these things. You made it clear, and I was able to make decisions and so forth. And some of the information wasn't even clear yet, hadn't made it to books and articles, but you guys were on the cutting edge, and it blessed me and benefited me. And that was just a blessing every time I've heard that.
Man, you guys were always knocking it out, man. I mean, it was so important because, again, a lot of people forget about how challenging that time was and how little we knew. And to have somebody who had that level of expertise, and then to have these subject matter experts who could help people navigate with the hands-on day-to-day challenges that they were confronting, that they had no idea would be a part of their lives, but would absolutely going to require certain tools and mechanisms to be able to survive. It was a very powerful experience. So I think that just so aligns so much with what we're talking about this afternoon. We got maybe 3 minutes left, and I think this is probably a good time to let people know that it will be possible to purchase this book and to enhance the quality of their lives, that there's a great opportunity also. I know you come out and speak and stuff like that as well. Website, social media presence. How can people get more of Dr. Nas and what you have to offer to the world?
Yes, thank you for that, Kenny. So my website is drnascoaching.com, drnascoaching.com. So they can certainly find me there. Also, Dr. Nas Thomas on social media, and also have a speaker platform. It's called drnasspeaks.com, drnasspeaks.com. And so in terms of the book will be on all platforms where you buy any book. And then, like Dr. Crichton, I don't want Amazon in my pocket 100%. So I'm using Books By, and that's /Dr.-Nas-Books. That's Books By /Dr.-Nas-Books. And so folks can keep up with me there. They can call me for speaking engagements, lectures, workshop, preaching, whatever have you.
Dr. Nas, it's been great chatting with you as always.
Yes,
I know
sir.
that we're on a regular thread where we stay connected, but it's always good to have you come out of the shadows and show your face on this platform, because already I see all the comments. People are making comments right now, and it's just a wonderful thing. We appreciate that. And it's the energy that you bring to the table that makes that possible. The book, again, folks, is a book that you got to get a hold of. It's Manifestation Mastery, a biblical approach to abundance, purpose, and divine favor. So, you can't go wrong because it's a biblical approach. And that's the ground. That's the foundation. And Dr. Nas, thank you for sharing this with us on today.
Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate the time and the opportunity to be here with you and your listeners. Thank you.
All right, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right. Blessings.
All right. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Nosakhere Thomas. He's the author of Manifestation Mastery, a biblical approach to abundance, purpose, and divine favor. You can get a hold of that wherever books are sold, as well as the website that he mentioned. And we'll go ahead and drop that in the chat so that you can know exactly how to make that happen. He's also executive director of the Inland Empire Black Worker Center, where he champions Black worker justice while authoring life-changing works on faith-aligned abundance. Manifestation Mastery. You definitely want to get a hold of that, folks. It will be a good read and perhaps a life changer. And that's exactly why we have such guests on the broadcast. My next guest is up and ready to roll. He is Dan Smith. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dan. Dan was born in, and I can forgive him for this, he was born in Detroit, Michigan. I mean, everybody can't get the blessing of being born in New York City. And going to Oakwood. I mean, he chose a great school, but it's kind of the second school, and that's Andrews University. But we're glad to have him on the broadcast today. Isn't it awful how I'm invited you to be a guest and I'm just rolling all over you right now?
As long as you don't back the truck up, I'm good.
No, my foot's on the brake. I'm not going to back the truck up. Dan is founder of the Joy Broadcasting Network, and I'm so happy to have him on this afternoon. I don't know if you have a secondary device on, but I do hear a little bit of an echo. But hopefully we'll be able to push through this. Dan, I hope you're doing okay this afternoon.
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on your show. It's great to be here.
Well, I usually see you on your show, and so it is good to see you on my show, because I usually start my Saturdays with an experience that a lot of people have had. It's called The Squad and Friends. It is the brainchild of Dan and several of his colleagues, talking to Dr. Nas a minute ago about how his ministry was birthed through the pandemic and pivoting from in-person services as a pastor to online services. The Squad had kind of a similar birth, didn't it?
Absolutely. It was birthed because of the COVID experience. Yeah. And people stopped going to church. And so some friends of ours, I was praying and I said, we still need the ministry to go forward. So I said, it would be great if we had this contemporary Sabbath school program to engage people all over the world. So we came up with this, originally called the Quad Squad, because it was four of us, our squad. And it was pretty much things that we would talk about around the dinner table, potlucks. And we just said, we're going to bring that passion to the people. And I can say the original cast was Sean Smith, Ivan Austin, Oakwood alum, and Stacy Bury. So out of that, we talked with Southeastern Conference Seventh-day Adventists in Florida, and they loved it. They got behind it. They put us out there on the platform. Wow. Well, looking at Pastor Pierre Francois was the person behind the scenes working the controls. Now he's the secretary of the conference, and just want to give a shout out and thanks for all the support from the many viewers and the conferences and people from all over the world. And it's not just a Seventh-day Adventist thing. We made it so people can come in no matter what their religion was and background and just share their experience and be a part.
And one of the things that, as you know, I've always shared with you that I really like about the Squad and Friends is that there's a diversity of voices. So you have a variety of people who come in their own special and unique way. You, of course, have an audience who makes comments in the comment section that always appear to be quite engaging. But you also focus on contemporary issues. So it's not this sort of tone deaf journey through the Sabbath school lesson. It's like, how do we apply these things? Let's talk about the grounding. Let's talk about the foundation. But now let's talk about the fact that people are really experiencing life and how can they draw lessons from that particular Sabbath school lesson as it relates to life. And I think that's the success of the Squad and Friends.
Praise the Lord. You've been a guest as well, and you brought your unique perspectives on that we definitely appreciate. And we have viewers from all over the world, people from Pakistan, India, over Taiwan, South Korea. We've had UK regularly, France. They've been on, watched, and say that they've been blessed. So some of the I would say some of the chaplaincy or the brethren of the cloth say that we're a little bit too edgy because they even thought about bringing it to another channel, but they said, you guys are a little bit too edgy. We love it. It's a little bit too edgy. We just talk about real issues. That's all. We're just about real issues.
Well, you do, and you do it. It's not a disrespectful conversation. It's not just a pure opinionated conversation. It's not people yelling at each other, and it's a respect. To me, again, it's a respectful attempt to understand what is God saying through His Word, through His Scripture, through His foundation, His grounding. And as it is applied through the Bible, which, of course, was written by men under the influence of the Holy Spirit, and then the Sabbath school lesson that's written by men.
Yeah. And
women. So, I mean, it's sort of like, okay, no one has total access to what God's word is, an interpretation of God's word. And, if God will use a donkey in order to do His will, I mean, then certainly He can use a group of motivated, educated, inspired, biblical grounded people to be able to draw people into a conversation that actually connects with contemporary matters.
Amen. Our motto is where the Bible meets current events.
Yes. And so, isn't it interesting? And, I know we know why it happens, but, it's kind of interesting how you have something that actually has people listening. There are people listening to the Squad, this, who've never gone to church.
Oh, yeah. We've got those testimonies. A parent wrote me and said that, I am so thankful for your ministry because my son has not been to church in umpteen years. Yep. He is a Gen. Very young Gen Y, and she said that he's been blessed. He's been tuning in. She said she thinks the hook is the cartoon that we have in the beginning, but she said that it's really changed his life and he's been listening again. So wow. I just count that as a blessing.
Yeah, you guys keep doing what you're doing because wow, I know. And that's the ones who reach out to you. You just think about, the whole concept of we're told that they're going to be stars in our crowns when we go to heaven and things of that nature. And, I know many of those stars will not be reflective of who we encountered and knew we encountered. They were because of the seeds that we dropped and the seeds that we planted, and people grabbed those things and the Holy Spirit fertilized those experiences and took them to a new space in terms of their relationship with God. So God bless you on the Squad and all the great things you're doing. Even more so today. And I see you rocking the logo shirt over there, JBN. You are the curator of the Joy Broadcasting Network. And I want to talk a little bit about what that is, how it got started, and what it represents in terms of your effort to connect with people and media.
Wow, that's a big question. But what it is a streaming and television program. It's a network. And I was thinking, after we were getting all these responses from the squad, I said, hey, we need to get the message out there in a different way to people of all faiths that they can relate to, people who look like us too, because there's not too many programming or stations out there, networks that reflect our views, that reflect what we like in our opinions. We're always being bashed by other networks, by other religious organizations, but we have a very unique and profound message that we need to share to the world. So after praying, I wanted to start this network of not just preaching, but health, fitness, music. And so I prayed and I said, I'm going to start this network. And lo and behold, my friend attorney Sean Smith, he said that he was praying for the same thing. And so we came together and we put it out there. And it's been a rough journey. It's not easy. We're a 501c3 organization. We've gotten a lot of funding just by donations, but our programming and the message and the mission is what motivates us every day to put everything we have into this ministry. We have a children's channel. We have devotional preaching, traditional preaching. We have faith-based films and movies where it's not Adventist, so to say, but it's Christian faith-based movies where people can come together, watch it, and talk about what they've seen and how that's affected their lives. We also have a health and wellness channel that also features some of the sports that are from the academies and things like that. That's a fun channel. We just launched a Latino channel, and that's been doing great. And let's see, we have that. And we have the Squad and Friends that's shown on there. But it's a great experience. We have a music channel as well. So and we're on iHeartRadio. We do podcasts. So it's a blessing. It's not easy, but it's been a blessing.
So we'll accept the fact that it's not an easy process. I would never imagine that it would be easy. And those people that are in entrepreneurship understand that every good thing that comes from some idea, some vision, always takes some degree of effort. Talk to us a little bit about what that effort looks like. So, how do you start? Where do you begin? Did you have this random conversation with Sean one day and you said, hey, I'm thinking like you? Or did you present it to him and say, hey, that's what I was thinking about? And then once you guys affirm that, how do you decide you're going to work together? And then how you decide to put the pieces together? What goes into this network in order to bring it to fruition?
Great question. Well, I brought it to him, and then I told him what was impressed upon my heart, and he said the same thing was impressed upon his heart. Well, we all have our gifts, and since he's an attorney, there's a lot of legal things that he can handle, and since I'm an administrator and business minded by heart, by trade too, I went into researching to see what's needed. So it was best that we formed a nonprofit organization. I mean, we got the 501c3 status. You go to that's not an easy process. So once we get that, then you have to get a Dun and Bradstreet number. You get that, you register yourself, your fictitious name. So, I mean, it's a process, and, it costs along the way, and you have to keep things up. And so then we have to get the right carrier to carry, our network and our message. So it's very top quality out there. So, you're not just looking at something and you're getting a lot of static. It broadcasts in like 4K, our station, our channels. So it was a lot involved, and it was, well, here, I can't say it better than this saying: how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
And that's what we did.
So does it become then a team effort, which I would imagine there are other pieces and parts to this whole thing, as you all sort of cultivate the vision and the concept, then other people kind of come to the table. Is that what kind of happens in that space? And then you also then begin drawing from those people's expertise as well?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. We all have to be mission minded and about presenting, because our slogan on Joy Broadcasting Network is sharing the joy of Jesus around the world. So you have to have a joy and passion about ministry, sharing the joy of Jesus around the world. So there are those, we prayed about certain things. We needed technical people. We prayed about that. We took that to the altar. We needed film people who could work the cameras. So we prayed about that. We needed a studio. We prayed about that. So it was a prayer journey, and we prayed for the right people to come, and we talked to them, see what they could do, and they come on board. We just pray that we're not sidestep, just to take us off our mission. So we pray that we don't meet the wrong people, because a lot of people hear this and they think, oh, it's great, let's do this. But they don't understand what's all involved to make it happen. There's a lot involved.
Yeah. How do you sustain momentum in these kinds of situations? And then talk to us a little bit about some of the roadblocks, not so much specific roadblocks, but how do you navigate through and continue to push forward through what has to be, known and unknown challenges that you may face?
That's a good question. Wow, Kenny, you really, what questions to ask.
Well, I'm a pretty good, interviewer.
Yeah, it's like you're in my head, like here it comes. Wow. Well, the roadblocks, the struggles, like you say, there's things that happen that you don't anticipate. You don't know the answers because this is all new. Funding is always an issue, because you have to keep things going. You have to keep the network fresh and going. So it's not free for all those spaces. So that's always a challenge. Praise the Lord that we put, we are having funding, but it's, I would say, as a minority owned business too, it's like minority and then Christian. So you're just putting yourself in a small area where, the funding is just not all there. So you have to pray and really search those funds out to find people who are like-minded and want to see people like us on the screen promoting our message. Like I would say, like Breath of Life, but they're unique too. But then we're not just geared our message towards Adventism, because we have our faith-based movies. So we draw from a larger pool, but the people who are running things are pretty much, we have to be in the same mind, same frame, mindset. And then you have to always have fresh programming to know what people are watching and want to see. So if you're not creating new programming, or it's not relevant, you're not going to be relevant. And people aren't going to want to give. They're not going to want to support a mission like that. And that actually hasn't been a challenge. We've had a lot of new programming, fresh programming coming out. I would say one of our most watched programs is our children's channel because parents like to feel comfortable that their kids can watch something on the Sabbath or just during the week and they don't have to worry about it. So yeah, it's a challenge. There's challenges.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, anybody that's been in the entrepreneurial space clearly understands. And when you start talking about starting a business, oh, well, there must be some challenges. Now, we focus on those things, but I think those are growth opportunities. And I think also instructional opportunities, because there are people listening this afternoon who have ideas, not so much about starting a network, but maybe starting a business of some type. And they need to know that there's some common threads across the spectrum. I'm talking this afternoon with Dan Smith. He is the curator, co-curator, I'll say, of the Joy Broadcasting Network. He's the chief commander in this process. He is the visionary. He is the one that brings a lot of the consistency and passion to the table, along with others as well. So we're so glad to have him with us today to be able to talk about this journey. Dan, let me ask you this question because this is actually going to be a two-part question. I'll give you the first part first. When you start thinking about something like this and where people get access to it, what are you considering? So, you're saying, okay, I want to start a network. And, first thing people think when they think about network is a television network. And then we kind of think about cable networks. And then we think about YouTube networks. I mean, we think about a lot of things. What are you thinking about in that space?
That's another excellent question, as usual. Well, you have to be able to reach all those venues that you just listed. So what I'm thinking, what can I garner? What can I tap into that will put the message out to all those networks, to all those channels and platforms? Well, because we're in this digital age now, and everyone has, one of these, we have an app where you can take the programming wherever you are. You can download our free app and you can tap into and see the ministry wherever you are. If you're in, if you're up north in Canada, in the mountains or whatever, as long as you got a signal, you can be a part of the conversation. You can be a part. And I think that's a great thing about the phones and the connectivity is that it makes us all a family. It can have us all to be a family. So once you find that platform now, then that's what you want. It's not just television anymore, because even the mainstream television stations are struggling because they always focus their attention and their bottom line on the television network, standardized commercials to fund their programming. But that has changed because now everybody has a phone, they're digital, and so it's pretty much it's on demand, and that's how our programming is. It's on demand, just like Disney Plus or anything like that. Joy Broadcasting Network, you can go and watch your movies, or you can watch it on television. You got Roku, you can check us out. You got Amazon Fire Stick, check us out. Google Chromecast. So we're on a lot of network. We're on a lot of platforms. If you can watch it on your computer, your phone. So that's what really motivated me, is to get the message out to everyone about the great programming that our people have. So we need to tell our story, and people need to hear it. And you can find that on Joy Broadcasting Network.
Let me ask you this. So, and let me not miss this opportunity since you mentioned it. You can download it on the app, and there are probably people like me sitting around with one of these in their hands right now. They may be watching what we're talking about with one of these in their hands right now. tell them how they would go about the process. I know it's a very simple process, but we want to make sure people know about it.
Yeah, you go to your store, your Google store or your Apple store, and just put in Joy Broadcasting Network. Joy Broadcasting Network. Then you'll see our logo. It's like a circle of blue with joy, look like a world, and you just tap into it and download it, and it'll come on.
When people have shared information with you, we talked about the amazing and impactful response that you got from the mother who talked about her son. But when people kind of talk to you about their experience with Joy Broadcasting Network, what are they generally saying to you?
Wow, I didn't know this. I didn't know this existed. Wow. Wow, it's so clear. The quality is so good. It's like, oh, okay. Like they're surprised that we have good quality.
Well, isn't that an interesting thing? Because I think a lot of times, and this is another challenge of being the entrepreneur, a lot of times when people, and that you have value, of course, you understand what I'm about to say. They don't know you. So it's kind of like, oh, since you're doing this is kind of like your little hobby. This is kind of like your little toy that you're playing around with. And what they're doing is they're diminishing the fact that you are professional, that you have certain skills, and that your reputation is on the line. Your integrity is on the line if you don't bring a certain product. And so people sometimes just kind of discount it. And so they're amazed by what they see, when in reality, what they're seeing is the manifestation of something that has already been grounded in the process.
Amen. And like I said, it's not easy. It wasn't easy, and it's still not easy. But it's a lesson because it's a passion, and we love it because we do see the results of people, their comments, the transforming of lives. So that's where we really get satisfaction.
Yeah. I love the fact that the Joy Broadcasting Network exists. I love the fact that people can have access to this thing 24 hours a day, that there's a tremendous amount of accessibility wherever people might be, and that there are no logistical constraints except that one might not get a signal. But you can get it. It's out there. It's available. And it sounds like there's an ongoing, active, and engaged process where people can really connect with in a very, very powerful way. Dan Smith is the founder of the Joy Broadcasting Network. He's based in Central Florida. Very beautiful area, by the way. I've been there. Been to your house, actually, and that's a real treat. My wife and I, once again, thank you for your hospitality, and your wife as well, during the holiday season last year. And we look forward to coming down that way again sometime.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, let people know about where they can find the Joy Broadcasting Network again, and then give one more shout out to the Squad and Friends, where people can find that on Saturday mornings.
Oh yeah, the Squad and Friends can be found on just on your YouTube or your Facebook. Put in Squad and Friends, and you'll be able to see it, like it, share. Joy Broadcasting Network. You can go to our website, jbntv.net. You can connect with us there. If you want to connect with me, I'm Daniel at jbntv.net. Daniel at jbntv.net.
All right. Lots of ways to connect with you and the Squad and Friends.
We're every Saturday, Eastern Standard Time at 9:00.
We are so happy to have had this conversation with Dan Smith on this afternoon, and we look forward to our next opportunity to have a conversation. In the meantime, Dan, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Can't wait to have you back on.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll actually send you a text about that shortly.
Okay.
All right. All right. Bye-bye. great conversation with Dan Smith this afternoon. We're so grateful and appreciative that he was able to join us for this conversation about the Joy Broadcasting Network, as well as a conversation about just the great work that he's doing in the media space with the Squad and Friends on Saturday morning, connecting the Bible to contemporary matters and issues. The Joy Broadcasting Network that provides faith-based broadcasting to a variety of different people. And we're so grateful for that opportunity. So we're grateful to have had the conversation with him on this afternoon.
Just now, another kid dropped out of school. There's one every 20 seconds. If we do nothing, 3.5 million kids won't receive a diploma over the next 4 years. But there is someone who can change that. You. United Way knows that kids who have a caring adult in their life are more likely to make it. So make a pledge. Tutor. Mentor. Volunteer to read with children. And the difference between a dropout and a graduate could be you. Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Listening this afternoon to a very, very powerful, searing, and moving rendition from an album from who we will talk to the producer and one of the musicians on today. It is exciting to know that we have this opportunity to have this conversation because I've been looking to it for a little bit of time. A couple of weeks ago, we had a conversation with Dr. Jerome Crichton, who's on our broadcast, and we're so glad to welcome Dr. Crichton back to the Second Chance radio broadcast on this afternoon. Dr. Crichton, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Kenny. Very happy to be here with you.
And as I said before, you continue to be a platform elevator for me, somebody who rises or lifts, I should say, the program up to another standard, and we appreciate you being here. Let me let people know who you are. A couple of weeks ago, you came and you spoke about a brand new book that you published called Spitting into the Wind, White Pathology and the Struggle for Racial Habilitation. We had a wonderful conversation about that. We're actually going to connect some dots today and build a bridge between that conversation and then the transatlantic journey, which is a part of what people were listening to just a few moments ago. And we're going to talk to people about what this very powerful experience is on today. First of all, congratulations on both the book as well as the album.
Thank you.
I want to ask you this, and let's just start out from the very front, because it is still Black History Month and people are still having those kinds of conversations. Of course, I strongly encourage people to have those conversations throughout the year because they are absolutely essential grounding for our lives. But just talk to us generally about what the transatlantic journey was.
The transatlantic journey is a project that was born out of a need for me to take a little time away from writing the book, Spitting into the Wind, White Pathology and the Struggle for Racial Habilitation. When I was doing the research, part of what I had to research was the atrocities committed by the Europeans against the Africans and the extent of those atrocities. And it was a lot of reading. There were a lot of things that I uncovered that, despite studying, African American, African diasporic history for a long while, that I had not come across. And it just got to a point where it was emotionally exhausting. It was traumatic. And I took a break for about 9 months, and I had to find a way to address and process that trauma. And so it found its outlet in music. Thank goodness I had that as an outlet.
Yeah, you are a musician. Tell us a little bit about that background.
Yeah, grew up in a family where my mom played a little bit of piano, my dad a little bit of guitar. My dad sang in the choir. We had a piano in the house, and grew up in Boston. And I shouldn't call her a guest, but one of the individuals who was over quite a bit was Nolette Lita, my good friend. And she would sing with the little group that we had at the church there. My older brother played the guitar. My brother that's a year older than me played the bass. And then from there, I went on to Madison Park, a division of music, a music high school. And from there, I went to Berklee College of Music, where I studied percussion and composition, arranging. From there, a lot of gaps, but I went to Oakwood and recorded, traveled and toured with a special blend, and at that time, Alliance. Also performed with many of the Adventist luminaries, Wintley Phipps, Shelton Kilby, Clifton Davis, and many others. And also performed prior to coming to Oakwood with a number of very well-known jazz artists, traveling, touring, recording, and also with a group from Harvard and Radcliffe College called the Kuumba Singers, who went all over the country and performed. So it's been, quite an interesting journey.
Yeah, rich history and a rich legacy in that particular space. Talk to me a little bit about what listeners can expect as you take them on this journey.
So Transatlantic Journey is an eclectic project. It reflects those musical genres that have influenced me significantly. Transatlantic Journey is named to identify the history of the Africans from Africa to the United States, but also my journey from England to the United States, and then that of my parents from Jamaica to England to the United States, which is why it's called Transatlantic Journey. So those things are conflated and, represent a sort of a stereophonic portrayal of both those experiences, that of our African ancestors and my own journey to the United States.
You are an instructor, teach psychology. You also have been an author of some other publications. This is also not your first music production piece. Talk to me a little bit about the combination of those things and how you have found a way to express your own self through those mechanisms, those mediums.
Yeah, so the work that I do is, I guess, best identified as being interdisciplinary, which means that, when I came to a subject area, I did the best that I could to understand it and to expand my knowledge base in it. And it just happened to end up being a variety of areas, which is why the term interdisciplinary is used. So, I started out early in life as an athlete. I went from sports to music, and then from, music to ministry, from ministry to psychology, from psychology to business, and from business and psychology to writing. And I've held on to all of those things, and they've served me well and provide me with a number of ways of, expressing myself, and also provide me with, a tremendous outlet, especially when it comes to drumming. I'm essentially a drummer, and drums are therapeutic. They never argue, they never fuss. They're always ready to go. It has been like my life's companion, and so these outlets have helped me to be productive in a variety of areas.
Yeah, expression through voice, of course, is a very powerful thing. Historically, the African griot was able to pass narratives from one generation to the next. Talk to me a little bit about that particular historical reality and what that means to this particular project and how that concept is reflected in what you have produced.
Yeah, when you bring up the word griot, immediately Dr. Norman Miles comes to mind. He is that individual that I epitomize, see as the epitome, I should say, of the griot. His memory, recollection, his knowledge base, his ability to tell the narrative, man, just unbelievable. And so that's what comes to mind. And Transatlantic Journey is in that tradition because it is the telling of a narrative, telling of two narratives, my personal narrative and the narrative of the Africans. I think especially of one track on the album entitled The First Night, which sonically depicts the first night the Africans were away from the shore, from the comfort of Africa, what it must have been like. And of course, it's in the form and the structure of a blues, in the genre of a blues. And it really captures that feeling, which was a feeling I experienced when my parents migrated with me and my brothers from England to the United States, leaving the familiar environs of England, and then coming to this strange place in America. So it really captures that. And so the storytelling for all of the tracks, has something that's very personal and very significant relative to my experience and the experience of the African ancestors.
Was there any one particular part of this project that really resonated with you more than other parts of it?
It was the construction of that same track, The First Night, because what I remember most about my own experience across the Atlantic was that sense of the unknown, that sense of loss, that sense of perhaps never being able to go back and leaving all that behind for something ambiguous, something unknown, something uncharted. So The First Night, resonates with me extremely deeply in that respect.
Yeah. People will not be able to see it, but I certainly encourage you to go to the website where you'll be able to see Transatlantic Journey. You'll see the cover of this album. And the cover clearly is a very powerful image and perhaps some symbolic things in there. Can you talk to me a little bit about that cover?
Yeah, it is the genius of Deborah Brewer, Sunshine Creations. Deborah is a graphic savant. And when we initially met and talked about it, I told her what I had in mind and left the rest to her. And just after a few weeks, she came up with this. She came up with, I think, 2 or 3 versions of it and said, well, which one do you like? I was blown away. And the photography was done by Ronald Pollard, who has an uncanny way of capturing not just the image, but the soul behind the image. And I'm being as authentic as I can. When you look at it, you will look at me and you will look at the artwork and the photography, and you will see the great care and the capture in it. So yeah, and you see the slave ship. You see, like in my elbow and arms and across my shoulder, you see the ancestors, it is absolutely powerful.
It is very powerful, and thank you for that. I hope that people will take an opportunity to take a look at that, because I do believe a picture's worth 1,000 words, and that the interpretive abilities that are generated in that space is absolutely astounding and amazing for people who choose to engage in that way. I talked a little bit about the cover and the people behind that. Talk to me a little bit about the musicians who were behind the music.
Yeah, just some unbelievable musicians. Let's see. So I did a lot of the music myself on it, both instruments and drums and some vocals. Shaquilla Hudson is doing vocals along with the great Julie Dexter from Birmingham, England, who is a fixture in the Atlanta jazz scene. Also, I have on piano Reggie. Reggie's last name is escaping me right now, but Reggie is an outstanding keyboardist, just excellent. Emmanuel Zachariah, who is a member at the West End Church in Atlanta, also plays soprano and tenor saxophone on it. Then I have other musicians from the Bay Area and from Atlanta who accompanied me, and just were so open and just so willing to buy into the vision of the compositions. I'm sorry, I've forgotten everybody's name. Because I'm sort of removed from there right now, but the musicianship is excellent.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. You did mention Julie Dexter's name. I had a chance to hear Julie Dexter back in the late 80s in Atlanta.
Wow.
Yeah, my good friend Dwayne Edmond and I went out one night and heard her perform. I had not known who she was. She was actually selling CDs that night. I purchased one and still have it today that she signed. So what a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, she sings on the track that's entitled So Long, My Friend. And, you imagine that you don't actually get a chance to say goodbye to somebody because you've been snatched away from the coast. And so it's almost like a soliloquy, so long, my friend, and she sings that and just captures all of that emotion that one would experience in a situation like that.
Yeah, wow, powerful indeed. We talk about the transatlantic journey in the context of dates and historical markers and other kinds of things like that. And whereas those things are vitally important to understanding what that experience was like for those who experienced it, this was a visceral experience. This was an experience that the people who were imprisoned and enslaved and taken from their land felt in many different ways that are not the most pleasant ways, and resulted in all kinds of different challenges to their lives, death sometimes, and more. Talk to me about that element of what you were trying to convey through the music in this production.
Yeah, so it's interesting that within the larger framework of the society, people are always trying to rob us of our emotion, right? We're not supposed to be angry. We're supposed to be very hypervigilant. People don't really want to know what we think. They want to know what we think that makes them comfortable or that gives them access to us. And I wanted this to be unfiltered emotionally. And in as much as it was an outpouring of what I had experienced in terms of the research that I was doing, I wanted it to really capture the highs, the lows, the hopes, all of it. I believe that, when we don't look at what was done to our ancestors, when we're not able to sit with us, it is a way of robbing from us the depth and the richness that is a part of our heritage. Because if you turn that same thing over, you find an amazing resilience that is characteristic of African peoples. And you can't really appreciate that side of it without understanding the depth, of the oppression that we suffered. So, that's where that energy came from. The energy is in, it's in the jazz, it's in the blues, it's in the gospel, it's in the reggae, it's in the, the Afro-Cuban music. It's in all of it. And sometimes I think our folk don't connect to that because they haven't been able to relate to the suffering. The reason why we call our music soul music is because it represents the bruises, it represents the hurt, it represents the pain. Nobody sings like that unless they've been hurt, unless they've been afflicted, unless they've had that experience.
Yeah.
So that part of it, that part, like they say, the emotional, man, it is our gold, right? It is our wealth. And by embracing it and by sharing it, we're able to appreciate it and help others to appreciate it.
Some have described the emotional elements of this journey for those who are taken as a kind of social death. You kind of alluded to this earlier in terms of your own journey. Don't know if you're going to come home, don't know if you're going to be reunited with your family, don't know what your community is now going to look like, but it's almost certain it's not going to be what you came from. And the post-traumatic stress that comes from that is profound and, of course, has a devastating impact on the individuals as well as families and communities. Talk a little bit about that element of the transatlantic journey.
Yeah, so it's not uncommon for me to come home from a hard day's work or from a difficult situation and just sit down at the drums. Right. And so there's a track on the album entitled, what's it called? The Across the Triangle. Right. And it's my expression of the highs and the lows of what that journey across the Atlantic must have been like. And we all relate to that because it's kind of like what the journey of life is like. At some points, the trauma is more intense. At other points, it's a little lighter because you're there with other people in a social environment and you find a way to survive. And that includes being able to laugh even in the midst of the pain and the sorrow and the bondage. So that all of those feelings are conveyed, and in that drum solo, it's a drum solo across the triangle, and reflect the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows of that trauma. And by doing that, it's a way of not only coming face to face with it, but authenticating the value that comes out of it.
As a mental health professional, I realize that naming an experience or naming a particular feeling that somebody has or an emotion is extremely important to give it a sense of identity so that you sort of know how to move forward. It is vitally important that we name the transatlantic journey as a horrific genocidal time in the lives of Africans coming to America, being brought to America. But so many people get stuck there. So many people start the history of Black people in the transatlantic journey. How do we work towards helping people direct their energy towards the time before that as a part of understanding the totality of the history of Black people?
Yeah, so the Ma'afa, right, which is the African Holocaust, in which over 12 million Africans were, slaughtered to genocide and then enslaved and transported, is not the beginning of the story. It's not even the middle of the story, but it's a critical part in the story. And I think that if we study about the Ma'afa, it should drive us back to, well, what came before it? Who were we? And we were, Africa's a large continent. We were very diverse people. Some of the problems that come out of how we think about Africa now is this idea that Africans were monolithic. When you think in those terms, it's sort of very limiting relative to what in the present we are able to accomplish, which is why some people never get past the Holocaust, because they don't understand we were not a monolith. We were not all kings and queens, right? We were not all princes and princesses. We were farmers, we were beauticians, we were physicians, we were carpenters and tradespeople and business people. When you understand the fullness of that picture and understand the Ma'afa as being, you know, a part of the bigger picture, it gives you a great deal of encouragement, because you're able to look not only at past history, but at the present, and you're able to see reflected in the present the great accomplishments of African people from all over the African continent. So it's inspiring, you know, when you come across like a W.E.B. Du Bois, or even a Booker Washington, and that's, you know, a conversation that needs to be had. But when you come across a John Coltrane, and when you come across, you know, an Elvin Jones, when you come across these types of figures, you begin to understand something of the nature of the genius, right? And that's what it's about, not just understanding the suffering in isolation, but looking at the whole picture as you look at the whole continent and the whole history.
I would likely be remiss if I did not acknowledge the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson this past week, and give you an opportunity for just a moment to reflect on his legacy.
Jesse Jackson is one of the heroes of America, not just Black America, not just African Americans. He is one of the heroes of America. I think maybe because he's contemporary, we often don't realize the things that he accomplished, not just in Chicago, but throughout the world. He was a statesman par excellence. We all know that if we've been paying attention. And he elevated so many people. He lived to elevate people. And if we just take the time and go back and, you know, think about how he has elevated like the Frederick Hayneses of this world, and, you know, and so many others, I think that we will be inspired and encouraged by what he accomplished. I would also say that in a day of social media, we often become the victims of the not so blessed moments of some of our heroes, because social media can be weaponized in that way. The only man I ever came across without sin was Jesus. So it's important for us not to get lost in the weaponizing of others against our heroes, right? That we are able to benefit from the fact that they sacrificed their lives for us.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you hope in the end, and of course this is a continuum, but what do you hope in the end as people listen to the Transatlantic Journey project will come away from the experience having been what? What will they have become? What will they have been affected in some way? What do you hope is the outcome of their exposure to this project?
I hope that they hear a good story, a good narrative. I hope that they feel the energy of the emotion in it. I hope that they find joy in some of the, in the tracks. I mean, it's eclectic, so some tracks will appeal to some more than others. For people who study music, I think that they will probably find the eclecticism refreshing, because it is it is not so genre focused that it doesn't have that creative element in it that expands beyond the fundamental genre that may be represented. But I hope that folk just enjoy it and say, yeah, there's something about this that reflects my life, right? There's one track, for example, entitled, the beat of the drum, something like that. Anyway, it reflects my experience in the disco era and how profound that whole sociological era was on my life. And I hope that people will be able to resonate with the era. You see what I'm saying? So there are 12 tracks that I see as being 12 different points of connection relative to our history and our experience. I hope that somebody can connect on as many of those 12 levels as possible.
Yeah, beautiful indeed. And where can people get connected so that they can get the Transatlantic Journey?
Right, so it's available on my website at transatlanticjourney.com. And if you purchase it there, you get a beautiful little package that's not available if you get it on the various streaming services, which it is also on iTunes and all of the usual suspects.
All right. Tell them one more time what that website is.
It is transatlanticjourney.com. The book is available at DRDRJEROMECCRICHTON.com.
Just before I let you go, Dr. Crichton, I know that I've said several times, this is not your first music production. You also did one that honored and gave homage to your mother.
Yeah.
And I think that was extremely important. I wanted to mention that real quickly and just give you a chance to tell us about that. Celebrating good days.
Celebrating good days. And it was my first foray into attempting to record on my own, all of the, Logic Pro and all that stuff had just come out. And I said, well, man, let me see if I can do this. So it's an interesting project. It's probably not the greatest of productions, but the music is good. The compositions are great. And I also have an audio track that has my mom's voice on it, and that will live forever. And I was really happy to be able to do that, to celebrate my parents, my father, and my mom especially. So it's a constant reminder to me that I stand on the shoulders of people who have sacrificed for me, who loved me and sacrificed for me. And I hope that spirit is conveyed in that project.
We're going to wrap up this segment as we get ready to close the show for today with a little more music from that opening welcome. And we want to say thank you to Dr. Crichton for joining us today. We look forward to future conversations on this and perhaps a variety of other things.
Thank you so much for having me, Kenny. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Thank you once again to Dr. Jerome Crichton for joining us this afternoon and sharing his gift to the world, Transatlantic Journey. We appreciate the information that he shared as well, and we hope that you'll check it out online. Also want to thank Dan Smith, the founder of the Joy Broadcasting Network, for being with me on this afternoon. Michelda Johnson, the CEO of HAPPI Health, joining me this afternoon. And then my good friend, Dr. Nosakhere Thomas, who joined us for a great conversation about his brand new publication, Manifestation Mastery, a biblical approach to abundance, purpose, and divine favor. On next Sunday, it's What's Going On, my social and political roundtable discussion, where I look forward to having conversations on a variety of contemporary issues. My guests will be David Person, Dr. Leon Seard, and Aprecia Faulkner, based in Chicago, Illinois. So we've got a good rounded panel for next week, and we look forward to talking to you at that time. In the meantime, I hope that you have a great rest of the week. Remember, as always, that knowledge is better than riches. I'll see you again on next Sunday.
We hope that the information that was shared has been a blessing to you and that your life will be enriched as a result of it. We'd love to hear from you. So please send your email comments to Kenneth Anderson at mxlife@aol.com. That's mxlife@aol.com. And check out our Facebook page, 2ND Chance. That's 2ND Chance. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Good day.